good day for an afternoon walk. So I go to put on my coat, and it's not in the closet. I thought, what the heck? Where's this coat? This is a favorite coat I like for walking because my plan was to go for this walk, call my folks, talk to them during the walk with my hands-free iPhone. And this coat has a perfect pocket for me to put in the front. It's comfortable. It just works perfectly. I'd forgotten the stupid coat at work. Oh, shoot, what do I have now? I don't have my nice cloth coat, but I do have this old leather coat in the closet. Big, thick, bulky, cumbersome, goofy coat, but it's leather. It's warm enough. I'll just wear that. So I put on my leather coat with a pocket, but not a convenient pocket for the phone. Plug in my hands-free, call my father, having a nice conversation with him, walking through the park. And I'm probably about a mile away from home, in probably the farthest end of the park, Founders Park in Lake St. Louis, if those of you who are familiar with it, up by the baseball fields. So you probably know exactly where I'm talking about. And I notice probably about 200 yards away, there's a man with a dog. And the dog starts running towards me at a full gallop. And again, I'm talking to my father, just noticing this, these goings on. And at first I thought to myself, okay, this is a guy who's playing with his dog. He's thrown something, playing fetch with him. He's thrown something. This dog is taking off. He's going to retrieve whatever the man threw and bring it back to him. The dog kept running. I thought to myself, you know what? That guy can't throw anything that far. That dog is making a full gallop beeline towards me. And as he got closer, I could tell that this was a pit bull. Okay, was it a pit bull for sure? Look, those of you who are dog experts out there will chastise me and say you don't know what you're talking about. Here's what the dog looked like to me, okay? He was a big dog, muscular dog, a big head, big heavy jaws, coming at me full gallop. Okay, maybe it wasn't a pit bull. Maybe it was a pit bull blend. I don't know. But at that time, I thought to myself, I'm in real trouble because this dog is out for death. He's out for blood. He's coming to me, and I'm the only one around except for this other guy at the other end of the park, and he's just standing there. So luckily, I'm on hands-free with my father. I said, look, Dad, I got to go now. I'll call you back later. Hung up on him, immediately called 911 and put the phone in my pocket. As soon as I put the phone in the pocket, the dog jumped and hit me. And I actually threw up my right arm to defend myself. And again, just by the grace of God, I had on this big, thick, bulky leather jacket. And the dog just bit into my arm. He kept jumping and biting into my arm, but I had this leather jacket on, okay? So he didn't get through to my skin. And this dog kept jumping, kept growling, kept barking. 911 came on the phone. So while I'm fighting off the dog, 911 came on the phone. And she's trying to figure out what's going on. I'm being frantic. Every third word, I'm sure, is the F-bomb. So she's trying to calm me down. That wasn't going to happen. She's trying to find out where I am. So fighting the dog off and trying to give the 911 attendant my location was tough. But we corresponded. I kept trying to fight the dog off. I'd kick at him. He continued to jump on top of me. Again, I kept throwing up my right forearm. He continued to lay his teeth into my right forearm. But again, I had this big, thick leather jacket. Now, the leather on this jacket, the leather and the batting behind it is probably 1.5 inches thick. So the dog never truly got through all that to bite me. He caught me a few times on my wrist where my jacket wasn't protecting me, but it didn't break the skin. Finally, the dog jumped off me and he started running away. I thought, okay, well, this is good. He's leaving. Well, he just ran away so he could get a full gallop and jump at me even harder. And he did this 4 or 5 times. And every time he's hitting me, I'm defending myself, but I'm thinking, man, this is a big, heavy dog. I don't know how long I can do this, how many hits I can take before I fall. And if I fall, I'm toast. Now, the guy who was at the other end, he's gone by now. I'm yelling, screaming at him. trying to tell him, get your dog away. He says, it's not my dog. That's all he said. It's my neighbor's dog. And the guy, he's gone. So hopefully he's going for help. I don't know. At one of the times when the dog took off so he could make his U-turn to gallop at me again, I found a large log laying up against the tree line. I wasn't far from the tree line. So I picked up the log, which was about 12 feet long and about 6 inches in diameter, probably about 10 inches in diameter at the big end, and probably about 3 inches in diameter at the thin end. So I picked that thing up. Believe it or not, I did pick it up, and I was able to fend the dog away, keep the dog at about a 3-foot length from me, so he never jumped on me again. As he barked at me, I'd try to cram that stick down his throat. A couple of times I popped him right in the head pretty good. And after it was all over, I knew I hit the dog good because there was skin from his mouth on the end of that big stick, that big log. Well, after a while, I was getting tired because I didn't know how long I could hold this stupid log up anymore. The dog was too getting tired. Fortunately for me, and unfortunately for somebody else, another guy came by walking. And this guy was considerably older. The dog looked at me, the dog looked at the old guy, and he chose the old guy. Took off in a full gallop after him, hit him once. The older gentleman, he went down, and the dog jumped all over him. And the guy kept yelling to me, get him off, get him off, get him off. Again, 911 is still on the phone here. So I'm telling the guy, look, this isn't my dog. I'm trying my best to help. I'm exhausted. The dog and the guy getting attacked are probably a good 50 yards from me. So I pick up the log again, trying to make my way over to the guy the best I can. Again, still 911 on the phone. They're hearing everything that's going on. And then a young man from, I guess, the neighborhood saw what was going on. And he came back and to help. And he actually got to the old guy before I did. And he was able to get the dog off the old guy, but then he went on to him and just laid his leg open. I mean, he had black running shorts on that looked like someone threw a bucket of water on him. It wasn't water, it was blood. This dog continued to attack the young man then. He had already blooded the old man. And then the police came. And it was funny because as soon as the police came, the dog saw the police and took off into the woods. At that time, I told the 911 attendant, I said, look, the police are here. I'm going to hang up. So I did. And looking at this later, I was on the phone with 911 for just over 5 minutes. Now, you think to yourself, 5 minutes isn't that long. Friends, when you're trying to fight off a pit bull who's trying to kill you with a log that, quite frankly, I don't know how I lifted that thing. 5 minutes is a real long time. So the cop came out. The cop started after the dog. The younger man went to help with the older man. An ambulance was coming right after the cop, so he was being attended to as well. I went after the cop for a couple of reasons. First of all, I wanted to see where this dog came from. Second of all, the cop had a gun, and if that dog was going to come back, I wanted to be close to the guy with the gun. Well, they went into the neighborhood. The cop went directly to a certain house, knocked on the door. Translation, he knew where that dog was coming from, and nobody answered the door. So at this time, there's nothing else I could do. So we walked back. The older gentleman was being treated in the ambulance. The cop took our statements. And I still hung around. The cop's saying, how far away do you live? I said, I live an hour away. I'm sorry, I live a mile away. He said, well, could you walk home? Because the cop could see that while I was exhausted and while I was shook up, I had the one minor bite on my wrist, and I was okay. I said, yeah. I said, I don't mean to be a baby, except I didn't use that term. I said, but that dog ran into the woods. We haven't found that dog. I got to walk past those woods to get home. Can you give me a ride home? So he said, sure. By this time, lots of squad cars were there, and the whole neighborhood, the whole park was full of police. So the cop gave me a ride home. So I got to ride in the back of a police cruiser because the passenger seat had a bunch of stuff on it. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, my wife and the neighbors are going to see me get out of the back seat of a police car, and they're going to think, okay, what has he done now? Got most of the way home. The cop heard something on his radio. He stopped. He opened the back door for me because you can't open a back door on a cop car by yourself because that's where the perps sit, and said, you're going to have to walk home the rest of your way yourself. I got to go. So I got out. He made a U-turn, put on the cherries, and took off. That, my friends, was quite the experience. Now, what I was not there to see and heard about later from the police is that that dog did come out of the woods and attacked another person while they were walking their dog. A group of police went back to that house to knock on the door to find out what's going on. 2 more pit bulls burst through the door and got out. So now this family with a house full of pit bulls has all 3 very dangerous pit bulls running the neighborhood. The police shut down the neighborhood, made announcements, get in your homes, lock your doors. They had a big problem. Bottom line is the dog was attacking more people. The dog attempted to attack the cop. The cops had guns, shot the dog. The dog is dead. Now, luckily, the dog didn't die right away. They were able to test it for rabies. He tested negative for rabies, so I didn't have to go through the rabies shots. Neither did the other victims of the attack. Everything's ongoing. If you want more details, it was on Fox News. If you watched the television right around that time, it was on Fox News. It was on Channel 4, Channel 5. Every local news station had that story on, okay? I was the guy with the stick getting attacked by the dog, okay? Trying to get a hold of the police to see what else is going on. Basically, they said this is an ongoing investigation that will take weeks to close up. So there's a lot more going on than meets the eye to this whole story with these people, with these dogs. Quite an exciting week for me. And really the only little effects I had, I called the doctor. Oh yeah, this all had to do with the amoxicillin, right? So I called the doctor. He said, the dog bite you? I said, yeah, just 2 wounds on my wrist. He said, okay, well, it broke the skin. Yeah. Is it red around the area? A little bit. Okay. You need to wash it down, put amoxicillin on it, put a Band-Aid on it, and we will give you antibiotics to make sure everything's okay. You also need to make sure that dog has had a rabies shots and a rabies test. So rabies test was done. Dog was negative. I'm negative. I'm good. So in the meantime, I'm taking amoxicillin for the next week or so, and I will have butt pee. So that's how that got there. Now, I'm not going to say this is a word of advice. I'm going to say this is a common sense request. I'm not even going to say demand. I'm going to say request because I know how a lot of folks are with their pets. And I respect that. But friends, if you've got dogs who are violent and attack people, and if you opt not to put those dogs down, and again, this is going to make a lot of people upset, but if you've got violent dogs who attack people, I'm sorry, those dogs need to be euthanized immediately. If you don't do that, you cannot at any time, under any circumstances, let them run wild. You can't do that. You cannot do that. As the story unwound, there were, I don't know how many people who said, yep, I know these people. I've been chased by their dogs. The police were called countless times. However, this was always a he said, she said. Well, they were walking by my house. They shouldn't have been on my sidewalk, and it's their fault anyway because their dog barked at my dog. This was not the case this time. Okay. If you have dogs like that, well, first of all, you just shouldn't have dogs like that. A dog, a pet, should be something that should be loved, that should be comforted, and show comfort towards you. Not a homicidal killer animal. Not a Cujo. So that's that story. And to think that to think that most of the time I live a very, very boring life. Boring as far as most people are concerned, but enough excitement for me.